Hello, my name is Ross Broadstock from Britain's Hidden History. Now, I'm sure many people, if not everyone, has heard of the story of the founding of Britain and the legendary King Brutus. But what if this was not legend? What if this was not mythology? The story is well recorded in the British historical records, and they were written a long, long time before Schliemann dug up and found the ruins of Troy. There's going to follow, after this one, a series of videos tracking down the places in Britain where the events are supposed to have happened, and, most importantly, tracking down the exact site of the burial place of Brutus. From the British records, this is history, not legend. This is part of Britain's hidden history. Reading from the book The King Arthur Conspiracy by Wilson and Blackett. Page 199, Chapter 8, In Search of Brutus. If we take the account in the Aeneid by Virgil, written just before the dawn of the Christian era, we find that Virgil described the Trojan prince Aeneas gathering many of his people after the destruction of Troy, and sailing in search of a new homeland. The first destination was to the African coast, near newly founded Carthage, and from there Aeneas led his people in a migration to Italy. It was at this time, around 650 BC, that Aeneas participated in the founding or building of Rome. The tale begins with Aeneas tempted to kill Helen of Troy, but desisting on the advice of his grandmother, Venus. Aeneas then took his son, Ilus Ascanius, known in Welsh as Ancwn, his father Anchises, the Welsh is Aedd Mawr, and his grandfather Capus, and led their combined fleets towards Carthage in North Africa. At Carthage, the Queen Dido made desperate attempts to persuade Aeneas to marry her, but failed. Reference to the genealogies that Flavius Josephus exhibited in his Against Appian I. This places these events around 650 BC. Various Roman accounts describe the founding of Rome, and Brutus, son of Silvius, became the first consul of the new republic after the expulsion of the Tarquin dynasty. In the Roman account, Brutus could not avoid condemning his sons to death for participating in a conspiracy to restore the Tarquin monarchy, and in this way he was responsible for the deaths of near members of his family. Livy then states that Brutus was killed in the front line of battle, which would be a most unlikely position for the elderly first consul of Rome. As with the story of Albine from Syria, there are strange echoing ancient correlations with the British Brutus story. After leaving Italy, Brutus returns to the remnant half of the Trojans who had remained in western Asia Minor, near Byzantium, and around the Dardanelles. Here he found that the Greeks had made war upon his kinsmen and were opposing them. This parallels the Greek histories of a war around 510 to 500 BC, which led to Greek domination of the same area around Byzantium, which the British histories specify. Brutus quickly becomes a rallying point for the beleaguered nation, and is opposed by the Greek commander named Pandrasus. Historically, the Greek historians named their commanding general as Pausanias, the Spartan. Brutus then finds an able ally in Assaracus, who is half Greek and half Trojan, and the fortresses of Assacaras provide Brutus with the necessary military bases. By means of a series of military stratagems, Brutus is able to ambush and capture Antigonus, the brother of Pandrasus. Then, by using Antigonus as a pawn, Brutus is able to plot the capture of the Greek general Pandrasus himself. This then allows Brutus to exact a threefold ransom from the helpless Pandrasus. He is given Pandrasus' daughter in marriage. He is allowed to collect 324 ships, and he is given gold and silver, and also an agreement allowing him to depart peacefully with his fleets. The Greek accounts, which are vague, contain stories of Pausanias the Spartan being disgraced in an affair involving the misuse of large quantities of gold and silver, and also being involved with a young woman. He is also recorded as overseeing a military disaster in the occupation and control of Byzantium. Certainly this very real Greek general was brought down in disgrace by his failures. Exactly why is not stated anywhere other than in the British records. After 2 days and 1 night of sailing, Brutus arrives with his fleets at an island named as Lagotia. The island is uninhabited, as the native population has been slaughtered by pirates. On Laodicea, Brutus finds a deserted temple of the goddess Diana, where he makes the correct offerings. The oracle then directs Brutus to sail beyond the place of the setting sun, past the realm of Gaul, to the great island in the sea which was once occupied by Giantes, the Gutians. Quotes, "Now it is ready for you and your folk. Down the years it will provide an abode suited for you and to your people, and for your descendants. It will be a second Troy. A race of kings will be born there of your stock, and the round circle of the whole earth will be subject to them." Close quotes. Thus advised, Brutus sets sail to North Africa, where he arrives at the Pillars of the Philistines and the Salt Pan Lake. From this point, he proceeds to Rusicida and the mountains of Zarek. Then the story takes Brutus and his fleets past the river Malva to a landing place in Mauritania, where he ravishes the country. Then the fleet passes on west through the Pillars of Hercules, the Straits of Gibraltar, and on to the west coast of Iberia, Spain. This journey and its stopping points is still traceable. At this Iberian landing, Brutus and his 6,000 warriors are joined by another westward migrating group of Trojans, led by Corinthus, who are fourth-generation migrants who left Troy under Antenor. Corinthus and his people now join with Brutus, swelling his armada, and the combined fleet sail to Aquitaine and anchor in the Loire Valley, or the Loire Estuary. Here the fleet lay at anchor for 7 days, presumably to gather food and water to refit the ships. Messengers arrive from Goffer the Pict, who rules this land, and inquires into the intentions of Brutus. Then a fight erupts, and Himbert, the ambassador sent by Goffer, is killed by Corinius. This results in Goffer launching an attack on Brutus, and after a ferocious battle, the Pict king is routed. Goffer then appealed to the other 11 kings who rule over Gaul to assist him. In the fighting which follows, Brutus is victorious in several battles, but sees his forces dwindle as the enemy continues to arrive in ever-increasing numbers. The only sensible thing to do is to leave. And so once again, the sea-worn fleet set sail to seek out the island kingdom promised to them by the oracle. Finally, Brutus arrives in Britain, where a party of his soldiers is ambushed by one Gog Magog, the local Gigantes king. After a resulting battle, Gog is captured, and then in a wrestling match with Corinius, Gog is thrown down a slope and killed. Tracing this site is actually possible, with the top of the throw and bottom of the throw still so named in Cymric as are other sites. Amidst all this, in the AD 1135 accounts, there is mention of Corinius having earlier fought against Giantes in Italy. There are a number of obvious parallels to the British, Greek and Roman accounts. Significantly, the British manuscripts predate the later alleged Renaissance copies of Roman and Greek accounts. Perhaps university employees would balk at the idea of testing out the reality of Brutus in the Aegean and Western Turkey on this evidence. But it was on just such ancient evidence that Heinrich Schliemann discovered Troy in 1876, whilst they dithered and hesitated. There is an old Welsh saying, "Fear knocked on the door, faith answered the door, and there was no one there." It is perhaps important that British accounts include what appears to be an older brother of Aeneas who is named Prydain. This Prydain would fit with Tarquinius Priscus, and this will probably be the vital in unravelling the early history of Rome. Prydain means of delicate aspect, and might well match Tarquinius Priscus. The Cymric ap can mean son of and successor to, and this can cause problems when family succession goes from brother to brother, or reverts from uncle to nephew, or vice versa. We now leave the book for now, although there's a lot of interesting information there about translations of the Lemnos Stela and other bits of physical evidence from across the Mediterranean. On our side of things, we'll continue our exploration of Gwent, where we will look to where the ancient burial site of the British kings is, where Brutus is said to have landed, which is actually Devon, and we're looking further to track down and find the tomb of the so-called legendary King of Britain, Brutus. Thank you for listening. I hope to get some feedback and comments. And there'll be more soon from Britain's Hidden History.